Has there been a release of a frame lately that hasn't made you go, what are they doing? Cause Temple is just another, damn, the power creep is real. Tekkit Encore released just a few hours ago. Courtesy of Digital Extremes, I was given Temple and all of this other wonderful stuff due to our creator partnership, and I threw together this quick look at them so you could get to flaming the entire steel path as quick as possible. Cause if there is one thing this Warframe is good at, it is lighting shit on fire, which is about as rockstar as it gets, let's be real. Seriously, the theming and execution on Temple is just top-notch DE, major props. Most Warframes these days have a pretty powerful quote-unquote gimmick that separates them from the rest of the roster. Dante has the page combinations for his fourth ability, Kome the dice rolling, and Temple the backbeat metronome. This metronome is a part of their passive and viewable underneath your reticle, the pendulum swinging back and forth through a gauge that is both a fuel metric for Lizzie, her exalted guitar, cause yes, this frame has a guitar for an exalted weapon, but it also has a highlighted central zone that gives abilities extra benefits for casting them while the pendulum is within it. The universal benefit here is a staggering 50% ability efficiency for doing so. This makes Temple an incredibly easy frame to run blind rage on for the massive strength boost, as the negative efficiency is almost entirely negated. Main abilities though, Pyrotechnics is very fittingly their first ability. As a literal flaming rock star, an ability that just lights stuff on fire is both hilarious and also surprisingly fun. Casting has Temple shred a quick chord on their guitar to erupt a scaling amount of fire pillars from the ground. These pillars will either align in a horizontal row at your reticle, or if enemies are within range of Temple, they will automatically spawn underneath them, dealing heat damage and proccing the status. Timing the metronome on this one will create more fire pillars and has an added interaction with the third ability, which we will discuss soon. Otherwise, this is typically going to be your subsume slot because the damage does fall off on Steel Path, and relative to the rest of Temple's kit, it just isn't as useful. Overdrive is one of those abilities though, and it is really strong. Casting will summon two loudspeakers to Temple's side that will straight up just base boost enemies into a stunned state while dealing heat damage and increasing critical chance of vulnerability when shooting them, the backbeat doubling the bonus for it. This ability's effects are applied within a 100-degree cone in front of you up to a scaling 20 meters, and for all intents and purposes is meant to be used as a supplement to your weapons. The stun is useful, but not really the part that we care about here, but that critical chance bonus is flat, which means that whatever your weapon's CC is, just add this value times 2 to it, and yeah, your critical chance will go through the roof. Ripper's Wail is their third ability and continues this trend of surprisingly strong weapon buffs. This one really has you rip some chords on Lizzie, making you entirely invulnerable while doing so, also refilling your health and shields, and overshields too. At the same time, you and nearby allies will gain a, and I can't understate this, huge bonus of heat damage on your weapons. This bonus starts at a relatively modest number, but timing the backbeat cast on any of your abilities will actually add more heat damage to it, scaling up to this value. The unique effect of it for this one though, just being more invulnerability time. Lastly, and easily the best part of her, is her exalted guitar, Lizzie. Lizzie is a literal flamethrower with incredibly good base stats of 35% critical and status chance with a 2.3x multiplier and base damage of 316 that is made up entirely of heat damage, unsurprisingly. Firing it can be likened to the Ignis Wraith, except obviously much better. It doesn't actually have a magazine or max ammo, rather it utilizes the earlier mentioned gauge shown within the metronome as its fuel, which is filled by casting while within it. As a beam weapon, it has 100% accuracy onto your reticle with a generous spread due to the flamethrower nature, range is 10 meters, and it has a decent fire rate. You'll find though that aiming in while Lizzie is active will change your ability icons from what you'd expect to the elements of viral, magnetic, cold, and corrosive. By casting the corresponding ability while in this state, you will instead strike a chord that sends forth a Tenet Archiplasmor style projectile that deals the respective element. The utility here is pretty apparent. See an Exibus unit? Hit him with magnetic. Taking down a high HP target? Use corrosive. Cold is less useful in my opinion, and viral, well, we mod that onto Lizzie already, so no need to use it here. The first, making it cost 0 energy to cast, and obviously any other things you do after that won't use energy. The second, making the elemental alt fires have increased radius and status chance. So what does a good build look like here? Well, I'm going to give you a non-helmet option for today. Let the community and myself find the best things, but afterwards I will give you some recommendations, but nothing too concrete. I'm going to assume that you're playing Temple for the guitar, cause why else to be honest? So let's start with that. In Tekrot, all Exalteds actually got access to Arcanes and Exilus slots, which is really important and means we can use any of the ridiculously strong ones that we have. But I am just going to be basic and use Primary Merciless. That base damage increase is just so nice. Otherwise, this is a pretty standard beam weapon setup: double galvanized, 260s for viral, critical chance at damage, and then Elementalist, and a Bane to boost the heat dot damage. If you don't want to run a Bane, use Hammer Shot or a fire rate increase here instead. Heat Viral is objectively the best status combination we can run here, and as said before, if you need any other elements, well, all the good ones are castable with the Alt Fire. On Temple themselves, we're going to go for a health and shield tank build here. This is mainly because of their third ability, and also that Archon Vitality is a must slot in here. Doubling heat procs from abilities will straight up just double dot damage, and seeing as Lizzie is an ability who already deals heat, yeah, you get the point. This also serves as a big HP increase, which when combined with Arcane Guardian and Adaptation makes you a really good health tank, and health regeneration is actually present from a cool companion synergy, Hunter Recovery, which gives your Warframe health as your companion deals damage, and seeing as Panzer is always doing that, this is very consistent health regen. Otherwise, Temple doesn't really need anything but strength, which is why we use almost every mod for it. The 50% efficiency bonus means you can get away with Blind Rage, and even though Lizzie doesn't consume energy, it does count as a channeled ability for Seismic Bond, which gives another 30%, taking us from 45 to 125 without any efficiency mods on Temple. Still, I do like Equilibrium here, health orbs coming from Synth Deconstruct. The increase of range to 145 is so we can affect more enemies per cast with the base boost for the added critical chance. Prime Continuity, making cast of your abilities add more duration to your third heat damage buff. Did I mention that casting does that? Well, if I didn't, casting your abilities just makes this one last longer, up to a cap of 60 seconds. Now you know. Otherwise, Arcane Acceleration is a necessary fire rate buff here, but if you are running Vile Excel over the Bane, this can potentially be swapped out for Arcane Hotshot, which adds flat critical chance for proccing heat with abilities, but Lizzie doesn't trigger this, and it requires you to keep there first, so you can, but it has such a short duration, and yeah, you get it, it's viable but annoying to maintain, and the build does have to adjust for it. Anyways, Panzer procs viral on a lot of enemies, and besides the aforementioned benefits, adds more critical damage and 60% more fire rate. Casting speed isn't super needed here, but having some never hurts, and you can potentially replace things like Guardian or Equilibrium with some other shards. It is up to you. Helmet recommendations. Nourish is always super useful, especially for making Lizzie even stronger than she already is. Roar is always a solid buff, Shock for Shock Trooper with electric damage, or Zada's Whisper. Pretty much anything that just makes you deal more damage quicker is going to be good here, as Temple doesn't need anything else. So that is Temple, everyone. This frame is incredibly fun and a great addition to the roster, and within the coming weeks, I am sure that people will discover some cool tech on her. I'm gonna get to work on my other content for y'all. See you all very soon. Peace.